All right, looks like we're live. How about that, folks? Second live stream in one day. I'm just too good to y'all. You really should check out that tip jar down there. Let me just make sure this is going okay on the YouTubes. No. Okay. All right. So, a couple of things that I wanted to talk about that prompted a second live stream in the day. I did one extremely early this morning. If you haven't caught it yet. Number one. Once again, there's plenty to criticize about Trump. There's plenty of things I wish he would be doing better, more of, what have you. For instance, Sessions needs to go. Sessions is proven to be an abysmal failure. Now Sessions is all about, we're going to crack down on the weed. The weed, dude, the weed. Both right-wingers and left-wingers alike make way too much of a big fucking issue over, dude, the weed. It's not the most important fucking right in the world, nor is it the worst thing in the goddamn world, and it's going to destroy civilization. It's just a fucking vice. It's not even that harmful, and let it fucking go. And the idea that you want to fucking get all upset about the weed, dude, when there's pedophile rings operating basically out in the open, while Hillary Clinton remains a free woman. I mean, do we have to catch Hillary Clinton smoking pot in order for Jeff Sessions to give a fuck? Instead of just mishandling classified information and murdering people? That's not enough to get Sessions' attention. No, somebody find proof that Hillary Clinton smoked weed, please, so we can get Jeff Sessions to give a shit. Anyways, as I said, a lot of things I could criticize about the Trump administration. But bringing that back in for a second, at the same time, it is still so refreshing after the last 3 presidents in a row in which we didn't have that, to have the fucking adults in charge again. Trump this morning was all like, "Yeah, we're not gonna let the fucking trannies in the military. That's a joke. To hell with that." And did everybody flip the fuck out? Oh, well, everybody, all the usual suspects flipped the fuck out. George Takei went on Twitter and said, "Donald, I don't have the tweet in front of me, so I'm paraphrasing. You have upset a very powerful community, and you will regret this. We will come after you," and all that kind of bullshit. It's like fucking, listen, Sulu, all right? The only thing scary about your community, in giant fucking air quotes, can you hear the air quotes? I'm doing it right next to the mic. I don't know if you can hear my fingers going, but I'm doing it as hard as I can. In giant fucking air quotes, the only thing frightening about your community is the sheer staggering volume of diseases you spread, all right? So what are you going to do? You're going to weaponize your pa's blood? I mean, somebody in the chat says 2 scoops, 2 genders, 2 terms. Deal with it. Exactly. And, I mean, I'm not necessarily all for gay soldiers, but at the same time, there's at least arguments to be made there. Certainly more arguments for gay men than straight women serving. Women in the military is a fucking joke. But, you could at least argue that's something they do in their own time, that kind of thing. Whereas fucking transsexualism is this huge, complicated, expensive fucking medical procedure involved there. That's the definition of disruptive to military activities. When you sign up for the military, your rights go only so fucking far as they do not disrupt the activities of the military. And that's often not that far. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice that yeah, we're not having trannies in the fucking military. We're not having the 104th Dildo Brigade on the front lines. Enough's enough, okay? And that's just incredibly inspiring. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you. The adults are in charge once fucking more. And I love it. Because, as I said, I did a video on this channel. It's a very short video, and I highly recommend checking it out and passing it around, saying that transsexual acceptance is the death of truth. Okay, it is making you say there are 5 lights when there's 4. Yeah, it's. I mean, it's far more destructive than even the gay agenda. Far more. Um, let's see. What? Okay. Trump anti-dem in the chat says Trump has figured out the left is all offense, no defense. They have glass jaw, and the secret is keep punching. Yeah, if only the Republicans would fucking learn that. I mean, you have complete control of the entire fucking federal government at this point. Just fucking run ruckshot right over them. Just fucking bend them over and then tell them who's daddy. You know, they're a bunch of faggots. They'll probably like it. All right. So enough about the trainings in the military. It's a great fucking thing. You know, outstanding. Just for the symbolic nature of it. You know, I mean, you know, we already have more military might than we fucking know what to do with. I'm not extremely fucking interested in our military getting even damn stronger, but the cultural symbolism of it is very important. Anyways, I'm going to switch topics to I don't. I mean, I have to talk about it. Like every swinging dick on the internet that is all familiar with me has sent me this fucking article. Oh my God, Chris, did you see? And by like 10 in the fucking morning, yes, I had seen several fucking times. I'm not going to go on to the article. I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to give it a fucking click. I accidentally clicked on it already. That's enough. Maybe I will tackle it more directly Saturday if I can find an archive link. But I know firsthand from my experience at Reaction that the more clicks at one of Rush's sites, the higher your status as a writer, obviously. And I'm not giving that cocksucker another click. I don't even know who this guy is. I don't know his name. I don't fucking want to know his name. He's a dipshit. Okay. The article was that the Amish show us what the West could/should have been. And again, I am paraphrasing. I don't have the article in front of my fucking face. I don't want the article in front of my fucking face. I gotta be honest with you. There are a few times that I get genuinely triggered. I mean, not just, I'm being a bit more bombastic for the sake of being in front of a mic, but I mean something genuinely pisses me off to the core where I have to step back and actually work on articulating my fucking self at all. And the Amish is one of those things. It really, yes, to borrow a phrase from the other side, it triggers me. Because, I don't like fucking celebrating backwardness as being quaint and cute and all this other horse shit. I'm talking real backwardsness, not, you haven't accepted 37 genders bullshit from the left. I'm talking real, you're drowning in shit, which is a thing that they do frequently backwards. Treating that as quaint and cute, it's upsetting to me. I like all the things we have around us called civilization. I'm a big fan of that shit. If there's one area where I would make the current year argument, I would say, oh shit, it's 2017. Shouldn't we have flying cars, not horse and buggies? When it comes to better technology, I will make the current year argument. Anyways, I'm not really paying attention to chat right now, guys. Just so you know, but I am keeping an eye out just in case I, go robot or something. But this guy's praising the fucking Amish, and as I said, it triggers me. Yes, I'm using the trigger word. It bothers me. It bugs me. It gets under my skin. Because you're treating backwardsness as quaint. I don't like that. All right. I don't want us to live as fucking savages. I don't want us to live all fucking backwards. All right. That's not, it's one thing to be of the cultural Marxist. And somebody said this to me on Twitter, and it was perfect. I don't have the tweet in front of me, so I'm not quoting it, but it's one thing to, the cultural Marxist mindset of just forever changing to the whims of your emotion without giving any thought in it. That brings death, but so does stagnation. And that's what the Amish are. They're stagnation incarnate. So it triggers me on that level. It bothers me on that level. It also bothers me because I don't like seeing a group of people that just consistently operate above the law. I'm kind of a big fan of the rule of law. It's a fragile thing, but it's important to having a peaceful, functional society. And I mean, it's not fucking mad. How should I put it? I mean, the one way I like to say it's like Tinkerbell. If enough of us don't clap our hands and believe it dies. It's a very fragile thing. And the Amish, and I can attest to this, living around them, and mark my words, they routinely operate above the law. And I'm not even talking about the buggies that fuck up the roads and manage to be exempt to all the requirements a motor vehicle would have to do, But I'm talking actual laws on the books that just are never applied to them. Not because there is an exemption for them on the books, but just because it is never enforced to them. I'm talking about environmental regulations primarily. And, not to sound like a fucking tree hugger, but I am quite the conservationist. I think that's something the right wing needs to adopt once again. We were the ones that pioneered such concept. We need to adopt it. We need to take back a concern from the environment, from the Marxists who want to just destroy everything using it as an excuse. But I'm all for basic environmental regulations. I'm very live and let live, but the air and the waterways are inescapably communal. There's just nothing you can do about that. Generally, what you do on your property is your business until there's a creek running through it. Then it kind of becomes the business of everyone downstream, doesn't it? And particularly the waterways. The Amish really, really fuck up the waterways. They are horrible farmers. Their yield per acreage is abysmal. They do nothing to stop runoff. They let the cows and the livestock and whatnot just directly into the creeks and streams, pissing and shitting, which isn't even good for their actual livestock. Again, they're terrible farmers. It's generally not good for this animal to be drinking its bath and toilet water, but whatever. They pollute the waterways a great deal, and there are regulations on the books that apply to farms in the state that they ignore, and they are never brought to account for. Environmental laws in general, zoning laws, that kind of stuff. The amount of hoops a friend of mine had to do to put a shed on his property because he had a creek running through his property. They had to get out all these fucking people to make sure it wasn't going to fuck up the creek. The Amish just ignore that shit, and nobody does anything. The other thing where they just operate above the law is the puppy mill situation. We have a problem in this state, in this area, of puppy mills, of horrific conditions among professional dog breeders. Absolutely. I mean, horror shows that would make a Cenobite throw up. Such sights to show you. And almost entirely, 99.99% of the fucking time, it's the Amish doing it. Because the Amish have no respect for life. Not just animal life, but their fucking own. as I said before, they routinely drown in shit because they're that fucking careless. But yeah, they have no respect for life, um, animal or human, really. And the puppy mill situation they do is just horrible. And again, there's so much, nobody wants. It's kind of like how nobody wants to actually fucking, we want to discuss terrorism without discussing Islam. Well, it's the same thing. We want to discuss the puppy mills without discussing the people that are doing it and why. They'll desperate to find the one case of Ronnie Redneck up in Lebanon County was running a puppy mill one time 17 years ago or something like that. They're just desperate to find any case where it's not the fucking Amish. It's always the fucking Amish. And just as a man of faith who, in my younger years, looked around at Christendom and just saw very unappealing backwardsness and anti-intellectualism. And mind you, I'm not saying that's indicative to Christendom. I'm saying that's what I saw on the surface. Partly because the media portrayed it that way, partly because a handful of very useful idiots played into that hand. That was my somewhat first impressions of real Christendom as I looked into religion in my 20s, and that kind of kept me at bay. That disgusted me. It's not, it's not something. It's not anything that appealed to any part of my spirit. The Amish embody that. Embody it. They embody legalism. They embody being backwards. They embody being Pharisees. I mean, you talk about taking tradition and shit like that to insane ends where it just becomes this anchor or this albatross around your neck, this millstone you're carrying around. These motherfuckers have heated, passionate fucking debates over the number of buttons they're allowed to have on their shirt. Like, I mean, to the point where they'll break fellowship with other Amishmen over it. The idea that some jackass at Return of Kings who's probably, and again, I don't know this guy. I don't know his name. I didn't catch his name. I don't want to catch his name. Fuck him. I don't want to know him. All right. But on the off chance you're listening to this, don't fucking contact me. I don't want to talk to you. All right. And why don't you go live with them for a while and tell me how fucking great they are? Assuming you can take 10 minutes of the smell. Um, go live with them if you think they're so fucking great. That'll break that fucking illusion for me. But the idea that this is what the West should have been all along, this is what we could have and should have been, and all this great shit. Now, don't get me wrong. We have problems in opposite extremes. Yeah, we're dealing with too much of a dildocracy and that kind of shit. I get that. Yeah, okay. But I think in some regards the sins of the Amish are worse. Now, as some of my fellow Christians in the chat might get a little triggered by that, but I do believe that what the Amish have is worse even than dildocracy. Because what were the harshest words Christ had? It was for the hypocritical religious leaders. It was for the Pharisees. It was for the self-righteous, those that thought they could impress God with the number of buttons they had or whatever fuck they were wearing at the time. I'm sure it was something equally inane. The money changers in the temple is the only time he got physically violent. Not at the local bordello or Apollo temple or anywhere else within his sphere of interest as he walked the earth that he could have put a boot up somebody's ass about, or a sandal, I should say. And the thing about being at the end of your ropes as hedonists, as we as a culture are, is in many regards that puts you closer to real repentance. Because you truly are aware of your need of repentance, of your sin, of just where you stand. It was some of the worst sinners who became the most important figures in the New Testament. Whereas with the Amish, they believe they're absolutely perfectly fucking righteous with God because they have the correct number of buttons on their stupid fucking vest. At least unlike Armored Skeptic, they're wearing the right size vest, but that's neither here nor there. That's further away. That's further away. At the end of the story of the prodigal son, the one who had gone out and done all these horrible things and realized that was all a dead end and then come back to his father, you'll notice that he was at the party with his father. He was enjoying fellowship with his father, while his self-righteous older brother sulked in the corner. So yes, I do believe that what the Amish have is actually worse than what we have. On a superficial level, it may appear more pious, more spiritual, but it's whitewashed tombs. Beware of religion that is too caught up in the external trappings, because they are often whitewashed tombs. Now, the other reason I don't think the West should aspire to that backwards nonsense. This is a bit more of a horizontal reason, as it were, a bit more of an earthly reason, a bit more of an under the sun reason, to use the biblical phrase, is that, yes, while the West has problems right now, and maybe irreversible problems, who knows? One still can't deny the achievements of the West. The greatest freedom and prosperity the world had ever seen. A man on the moon. The incredible, abundant technology you all see before you. Now, yes, Asia and Israel, they had their hands in a lot of the technological revolutions, certainly. Primarily, it was us in the West. We put a man on the moon, while those Amish rolled around in pig shit. And you honestly can't tell me which is the superior civilization? Don't a lot of you alt-writers constantly use the meme where you show like Roman civilization at its height, and at the same time you show the mud huts of Africa and say, which civilization is better? Well, by the standard of this Return of Kings article, I guess the African civilization. We put a man on the moon while they rolled around in pig shit. And you know what else? Their civilization, if you could call it that, their society, it's not sustainable. They don't know how to live off the land. They can rape the land. They're like fucking locusts. They're constantly, killing fields. They're constantly showing worse and worse acreage because they don't even rotate crops half the fucking time. They keep the ground fresh. They don't know any of that shit. If I had fucking magical Q from Star Trek powers and I could make an identical Earth, let's say it's right on the opposite end of the sun, so it's the same distance, same, everything's just right about it. And hell, I'll be generous. I'll put all the infrastructure in place already. And I'm going to transport all the fucking Amish over there. And you guys just have your happy fucking society. They'll starve. They'll fucking starve. They'll eat each other. They can't farm worth shit. You know how many times around this area I see them at like fucking restaurants and stuff like that? I see fucking buggies at the Burger King in my town all the time. Basically every time I drive by it. They're starving to death. They can't fucking... Now, they're good woodsmen. They're good carpenters. I give them that. Woodsmen. That's fucking... No, they're good carpenters. Fuck woodsmen. What am I, fucking J.R. Tolkien all of a sudden? No, they're good carpenters. Um, I'll give them that. You know, they can make some decent furniture out of wood. They're terrible at metalwork. They're terrible at fucking farming. They're terrible at everything else. Um, yeah, I can't fucking stand this shit about like, oh, they're so quaint, they're so cute, and this is a big reason why I don't call myself a traditionalist. I don't believe I've ever really used that label for myself. Because tradition's a nice thing. It's a yeah, it's a good thing for the most part. But it's not any kind of ultimate moral imperative, and it's not even close. And indeed, it can very quickly become um, just a weight dragging you down. You know, what was it G.K. Chesterton said, where he said, if you're going to tear down a fence, you should understand why it was put up in the first place before you do. Well, implied in that statement is that there's times to tear down a damn fence. There's times you have to do that. And, you know, I just I don't see being tied down to it. I don't, you know, I just don't see that as being any kind of empirical good. So let's see what's going on in the chat. Let's see. Somebody says I like Mennonite girls. They are like the Catholic schoolgirls of the Protestants. Um, I can attest to Catholic schoolgirls being demons in the sack. I can't attest to Mennonite schoolgirls though. Um, so Bechtloff is living in an Amish paradise. Uh, Anti-Dem says, in quotes, Pennsylvania man Chris Bechtloff dies of an aneurysm today after hearing the news that popular YouTuber movie Bob Chipman had become Amish. Um, so he says, Amish death Bechtloff is best Bechtloff. Uh, Christian says, Bechtloff, I wrote the Amish article to get you to stop bitching about Catholics. Yeah, well, I wouldn't, I wouldn't talk because y'all aren't that far fucking behind. At least when it comes to being obsessed with buttons on shirts or whatever other silly nonsense y'all get too hung up about. Thankfully, though, you're not bad with the tech. I'll give you that. Um, I was sad you didn't make the grilled cheese sandwich joke in your video on the Amish drowning. Well, I didn't even like that. Wasn't even a fresh record. I literally just lifted some audio out of one of the old one of my streams. Let's see. This is interesting, if true. Hey, Beckloff, did you hear that Kurt Eitenward, everyone's favorite tentacle porn researcher, may have gotten caught with child pornography? I didn't know they made tentacle porn featuring children, but okay. I guess they make basically anything you can imagine. No, seriously, I hadn't heard that. It would not in the least surprise me. That guy's fucked up in the head. That's one of those. That's one of those really. It's one of those guys where just my skin crawl automatically. Like the first time I saw Ghoul on video, I was like, that guy's fucked up. Um, if Movie Bob becomes Amish, would it help his diabetes? Well, you know, he'd actually have to do a little bit of physical labor. I don't know if he'd get through the first day. Uh, Let's see. The alternative right lighters like Davis and others make me look into many traditionalist movements. I use scriptures from outside any standard canon. I am more an Evola Christian traditionalist. Again, I don't. The tradition's great and all, but it's not to be made an idol of. Let me put it that way. That's the best. I think that's the best way I can put it. Don't make an idol out of it. Somebody says, so how big is this DWS intern being? Oh yeah, Debbie Wasserman Schultz, or Debbie Blathermouth, as Rush likes to call her. Her intern who was in charge of a lot of the the I don't know, but I don't know how the hell to, forgive me, I'm brain farting here. I don't know, just her computer files and shit like that. One of her IT guys or something like that. Anyways, a guy that was in a position to know shit, let's put it that way. He was arrested trying to flee the country. Somebody says, do you like Mexicans? I mean, I don't really have much of a strong opinion on Mexicans. I mean, I generally prefer them to be in Mexico. I like Mexican food, though. Mexican food is muy bueno. But we could just have like one of them come over here and show us how to make that. All right, we don't need a whole bunch of them over here for that. Let's see. Rex the Mexican leaves the others to kill each other, gets paid $3 to clean up the blood. I don't know what that's referring to. If that's a reference to something, I'm not familiar with it. Movie Bob goes Amish, kills 2 birds with 1 stone. Well, honestly, like, just the physical labor alone would do that guy some good, because I'm certain he's never worked a day in his life. Let's see. How long have I been going on? Looks like maybe a half an hour, I think. Let's see. Bechtloff, you're a beast on the live stream these days, mate. Streaming when I go to work and streaming when I get home from work. Yeah, I was streaming extremely early this morning. It was like, I think it was just before 5 in the morning I started, because I had a really nasty headache last night, so I crashed very early and then woke up at like 1:30 in the morning and got myself to kind of get back to sleep, and then woke up at like 3:45 and was just wide awake. I ended up taking a nap from like between like 8 to 10, and that was it. But other than that, I was basically wide awake way early in the morning. I mean, I've been living that neat lifestyle lately, so I've reverted to my nocturnal ways. I won't sleep past noon. Like, I've kind of drawn that line in the sand for myself, where I'm like, unless I'm working a third shift or I'm like ill or something, I'm not going to sleep past noon. But I'm not going to lie, there's been plenty of days where I slept right up to noon, because I just never got to sleep till like 5 in the morning or something. But yeah, I won't sleep past noon. You got to draw a line for yourself somewhere. You got to have a bit of an anchor somewhere to keep yourself from just drifting too far one way or another. So he says, Bechtloff, how'd the interview go? I think it went well. It was through a temp service, and there were other people that the temp service was sending over to apply. So I don't know that I'll get it. I will say, though, that this temp service that I just registered with, as opposed to some of the other ones I'm dealing with, seems like they maybe got a bit more in stock. So even if this one doesn't pan out, I kind of think it won't be long till they do find me something. Bechtloff, most of us are night owls in one way or another. Yeah, I've always kind of been a night owl, and most of my adult life I've worked second shift, so a 3 to 11 or a 4 to 12 kind of shift. Let's see. Would you want Mexicans or the Amish to pick your food? Probably Mexicans. I assure you the Amish are more disease-ridden. Trust me, I wouldn't. However many Amish there are, I would deport them and let that many Mexicans stay. Just send the Amish down to you. Like, you're Mexico's problem now. So he said, so the interview was for redhead porn star intercourse, right? Yes, of course. Bechtloff doesn't know all his fans are Protestant vampires. I have the sleep schedule of a vampire, I'll give you that. Damn near. Let's see. Going to the chat here. Do you think the Amish are worse than Mormons? Yes. I don't even have to read the rest of that. Amish don't seem to try and subvert politics the way Mormons do. Yeah, but it's still. Bechtloff has 3 buttons, but can only press one. What does he press? Kill the Amish, kill the degenerates, or kill the Muslims? I'm going to say kill the Amish. Because I get the feeling that degenerate and Muslim problems are going to get themselves sorted out, whereas I just see no light at the end of the tunnel for the Amish problem. It's hard to get people woke on the AQ. What's the latest comic books these days, Bechtloff? You ever think about going back to the comic book stand for some small cash? Well, I'll say this much: I've sold things to the comic book stand for some small cash. I'm not reading a great deal, but whatever I do read, whenever I get a bunch of it together, I just take it up to them and sell it for some cash back kind of thing. As for comics I'm reading, there's a Batman Shadow crossover I like. There's a Justice League Power Rangers crossover going on right now I'm enjoying. There's a Rick and Morty comic book that's pretty good. Shit, man, it's not a lot. Oddball issues here or there that pick my eye, or like catch my eye, but for the most part, I picking up some of them oddball crossovers just because I'm a sucker for that kind of shit. Hang on. Had a question. Saw Watchmen, director's cut, not the original, or read the comic. Thought it was quite good. Why do people hate on the film so much? A couple of reasons. Well, first of all, I'm going to say that I don't know if I've seen the director's cut. I saw it in the theater, so I saw the original cut. It's quite good. It's certainly better than I ever expected an adaptation of Watchmen to be, but it's very, very good. The comic book is also good, although I do believe it's overrated. I don't think it's the end-all, be-all of fucking superhero storytelling like so many people claim it is. As for why the film is disliked, I'm not really sure. My thought is that there's so much loyalty to the original source material and to Alan Moore that everybody wants to hate on it for that, because Alan Moore hates on it really just because Alan Moore wasn't getting money for it, because as I discussed in a previous stream, Alan Moore thought he was going to retain the rights to these characters, but he just didn't read the contract carefully enough. The contract said DC would retain the rights for as long as Watchmen continued to be in print, and because DC kept publishing the trade paperback, DC retained the rights. You know, I'm sorry you thought you were going to outsmart Warner Brothers fucking lawyers, but it wasn't going to happen, Alan. Now, Alan Moore likes to pretend like there's some sort of artistic fucking reason why he hates all these things. But not really. I mean, he just he's just a fucking bitter old contrarian hippie. So he says that was the best movie anyone could have really made out of Watchmen. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of faith in the idea of Watchmen as a movie because what's really great about Watchmen is that it's not necessarily a particularly good story. It's just extremely good storytelling. The nature of the 12-issue miniseries, it's so good at fleshing out this massive, coherent world that you feel like you've been following for years and years and years within just 12 issues. It does a lot of things really good, such as actual text sections in the back of each issue, like a chapter from one of the characters' autobiographies, or the psyche valve for Rorschach when they, arrest him, that kind of thing, or some internal paperwork from one of the companies in this universe. That kind of thing in there really fleshes it out. And I didn't know how you could really translate that kind of stuff to film. And I mean, directly you kind of can't, but at the same time, yeah, Watchmen is as good of a Watchmen movie as you could possibly have. And I will say the ending to the movie is just hands down better than the ending to the fucking book. The idea of Dr. Manhattan blowing up the city, and that's what frightens everybody into, ending the Cold War, actually makes sense within the confines of the story. Whereas, in the original book, it's an octopus monster teleports there, and everyone just thinks must be aliens or something, And first of all, it's stupid. Second of all, it's a ripoff from an Outer Limits episode, almost whole cloth, to which Alan Moore finally admitted at one point, I think somewhere in the 90s. Matt Forney says, fun fact, there was a breakout of anal gonorrhea. Well, that's just fucking lovely. At Brigham Young University a few years ago, anal sex is called the Provo bump. Don't be fooled, Mormons are sick, degenerate cultists. Well, don't be fooled, the Amish are as well. The Amish have this little thing, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's when the Amish teenager becomes of age or whatever, and they're going to be accepted full cloth into the Amish thing, they get like this fucking hall pass to go out and do coke off of a hooker's ass or something. Like, I'm not kidding. They get like a couple of months to just go out and do whatever the fuck they want. And then they come back. Yeah. And I mean, they do some fucking heinous shit. To be honest, that hall pass thing, I wouldn't be surprised if STD rates are shockingly high among the Amish. I'm sure most people would imagine they're at zero, but I bet you they're probably, just because, they make up for lost time in those couple of months, I wouldn't be surprised if they're almost as high as the general pop. If not, maybe a touch higher. Anti-Dim says, listen to me. I have a master's in literature, and I'm telling you, sometimes the movie really is better than the book. Yeah, sometimes it is. What other kinds of gonorrhea are there? Yeah, I kind of thought that you just got gonorrhea. I didn't realize it was specific to a region of your body. Bechtloff takes the Amish hall pass and sleeps with Amish girls every year. That's fucking disgusting. Oh, man. That is fucking gross. Cowardly the Dog says, honestly, Moore made Rorschach to be unrelatable. He is a goat character. I don't know what the hell a goat character is. Do you mean great? He actually is a great character, and it's funny. Alan Moore wanted Rorschach to be like everybody reading it was supposed to look at Rorschach and be like, "Oh, look at this shithead." When really, I mean, you could certainly take issues with his worldview, but he's the only one with anything approaching a moral compass in that whole fucking book. In that whole fucking story. Um, let's see. Uh, a goat character is a female love interest in a Muslim movie. uh, let's see. Richard Spencer did actually a pretty good review of Watchmen. He made the point that Rorschach is really the only decent and honorable one out there. Brutal, yes, but honorable. Yeah, Rorschach is, yeah, again, he's the only one even approaching a moral compass of the bunch. I'll be very interested to see where DC goes with making Dr. Manhattan a villain, having, traveled to the main DC universe. And that'll be very interesting to see where they go with that. Yeah, somebody just mentioned that in the chat. Also, speaking of Watchmen, read much of the Watchmen stuff they were putting out in the Batman Flash stuff. Yeah, I read that story arc. And again, not a lot was revealed. It's kind of a teaser to even later, but it was still really good. There's apparently a miniseries called Superman: The Doomsday Clock, which is going to be where this story arc comes to a head. That's supposed to come out in August or October. I'm actually very excited for it. It looks really good. Bechtloff, are you aware that Rorschach is a Catholic? Well, of course he is. He's a Christian in comic books. Here's the thing. This is almost any time you see a Christian depicted in comic books, 90% of the time, it's going to be a Catholic. And the reason for that being is, A, so many of the original writers were based in New York, and that was the most visible form of Christianity they saw around them. And B, comic books are a visual and melodramatic medium by their very nature. So if you want to depict Christianity, you kind of have to go with the branch that's into a bit more theatrics, into a bit more, instantly recognizable visual symbolism and surface level shit. I don't know how else to put that more politely. Just surface level stuff. Because again, you're dealing with a very visual and melodramatic genres and mediums. So yeah, most of the time, they're going to depict them as Christian because, you can just depict that very easily. The architecture of old style churches is instantly recognizable. The stuff like doing the cross symbol over themselves and going to confessions makes a very interesting narrative trope or whatever, like tool, whatever you want to call it. And especially because you have certain rules there, like, Daredevil does this quite well where, and they do it actually in the Daredevil movie with Ben Affleck, which is extremely underrated, where he's constantly telling the priest all about his activities as Daredevil. And the priest can't do anything about it. He's got the vow of confidence or whatever the hell they call it. So I can't think of a more polite way to put this. If you're going to depict Christianity in a cartoon, you have to go with the cartoonish Christianity. I can't think of a better way to say it there. So yeah, even if I was writing a superhero book, I would go heavily on probably Orthodox and Catholic stuff to convey certain Christian themes for the simple fact that it's more cartoonish. It's more what the hell? I'm blanking on a word I wanted to use. Not symbolic. Stylized, I guess. It just applies itself more to it. Somebody says, I get it, Bechtloff. You're saying Catholics are better. I don't think calling your branch of Christianity the more cartoonish one is necessarily saying it's better. Kind of the opposite there. Let's see. Beckhoff, have you watched Stefan Molyneux's recent video, The Real History of the Crusades, Religious War? Quite interesting. I haven't. I do watch Molyneux from time to time, but, he's often very long-winded. I mean, I love Molyneux to death, but I mean, there's only so many hour-long fucking videos I can watch in a day. So I haven't caught that particular one. The thing about the Watchmen movie is that they got right the two things that any Watchmen movie had to get right: Rorschach and the comedian. Yeah, and actually, I would argue they also need to get Dr. Manhattan right. He's very integral to the story, but I think they did a fantastic job with that. One of the reasons Watchmen is still does actually hold a special place to me is because it's based off of characters that I love. All the Watchmen characters are based, sometimes loosely, sometimes not, off of the Charleston characters. This was originally a story Alan Moore wanted to do with the Charleston characters. Charleston was a comic company in the 60s that published characters like Captain Atom and The Question and Blue Beetle. And then in the 80s, DC just bought this company whole cloth. And Alan Moore, when he found out about that, said, I want to write this story. And then DC's like, nah, we're going to take those characters and just sort of fold them into our broader universe. And so characters like, Captain Atom and Blue Beetle became Justice Leaguers. Question became part of DC Universe. I don't believe he was ever a Justice Leaguer in a comic. I knew he wasn't a cartoon, obviously. I don't think he was in a comic. The point is, they all just got folded into the broader DC Universe. I've always had a big love for the Charleston characters, especially Blue Beetle and the Question. I love Ted Kord's Blue Beetle. I love the Question. Yeah. I have a hardcover, and it's one of the archives of Silver Age stuff, and it's called Action Heroes Archives Volume 2. And it was this expensive ass $75 hardcover. And it was the only way I could find any of these fucking Charleston Silver Age stuff really reprinted. Like, I'd read bits of it online, but I couldn't find any of it anywhere reprinted. And I finally got the guy at my local comic book store. I talked to him. I said, like, dude, I can do $50. I can't justify fucking $75 for a fucking book. And it had sat for a while because it just, not that many people are into those characters. And so yeah, I talked him down all the way down to just really expensive. But those characters, I just adore those characters. I mean, if I got rid of almost every trade paperback, reprinting comic book stories I have on my bookshelf, that would probably be the last one. Let's see. Bechtloff, have you ever read the comic books for A League of Extraordinary Gentlemen? I can't say that I have, actually. Anti-Dem says the Question was brilliant in JLU. Oh, yeah. And JLU was just... That still to this day remains... Well, I'm going to say it's tied for DC's best cartoon with the Batman animated series. But it was just brilliant. The whole Bruce Timm DC animated universe was just fantastic. I don't think DC's animation will ever top that. So much better than that trash Teen Titans cartoon at the same time. I don't know why anybody liked that. Let's see. give Dr. Manhattan underwear to wear in his next movie. What? I mean, come on, we're all on the alt-right here, you know? I mean, half the alt-right pagans like to paint their dicks blue and run around in the woods, right? So Dr. Manhattan should be right up their alley. Yeah. Let's see. At the end of the movie, he single-handedly beats the shit out of Night Owl, Rorschach, and Silk Spectre. Why? What? The Ozzy Mendez or whatever, however the hell you pronounce his name. I'm always so bad with that shit. Yeah. One thing I didn't like about it was Adrian. So bad with names for me. More powerful than the other characters except Dr. Manhattan for no good reason. Well, apparently he had been sort of having himself enhanced with some of the R&D shit going on in his company. They hint to it a little bit better in the book than they did in the movie. Plus, he basically was just naturally the most exceptional man on the planet. He was almost a superhuman. Not quite, but he was just insanely intelligent, always this Olympic level athlete and shit. Just stuff always came easy to him. He always was the superior fighter to all the rest of the crowd. So he says, what exactly is your beef with the Teen Titans cartoon? It's trash. Yeah. I mean, the animation style is not something that appeals to me. It's all animu bullshit. But it was just so watered down and childish. And I think the real problem I had with it was just so jarring that thing was on at the same time as Justice League Unlimited, Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. You know, and that cartoon was originally supposed to be within the broader DC animated universe as a spinoff to it, done in the same style. So to some of it, maybe I'm just kind of angry at the better cartoon we almost had instead of that animu bullshit crap we got. And it was just so watered fucking down. I mean, you know, they changed the name of a villain because they weren't allowed to say death. Come on. What is that faggot crap? Bechtloff, who's your favorite comic book supervillain and why? Somebody says Teen Titans Go killed Teen Titans. No, Teen Titans was already fucking dead. Teen Titans Go is just making fun of something that was already shit. If anything, I kind of find it funny. My favorite comic book villain is probably Dr. Doom. I mean, he's just the most badass and compelling all-around guy. Let's see. Would Dr. Manhattan's underwear be magical? I don't think it would be magical, no. Somebody says, I like Teen Titans Go. I don't mind it either. I mean, you know, the only real argument against it I ever hear is that it's somehow desecrating the memory of a cartoon from 10 years ago that was shit. So, I mean, I'm not really compelled to agree with that. It makes me laugh. So he says, Dr. Doom, are you sure you might not be talking about a Doombot? Well, you never know with Dr. Doom. That's the thing. You never know. Which says Teen Titans Go out of my helicopter. No, fucking regular Teen Titans can get out of my helicopter. God, that cartoon's such ass. I mean, there's every Bruce Timm cartoon that DC did is better. Fucking Static Shock is better. All right. That cartoon from the mid-2000s, The Batman, while that was very, very deeply flawed, it was fucking better. All right. Batman Brave and the Bold was fucking better. If you take them as products of their time, Super Friends were fucking better. All right. In fact, the only cartoon I think DC ever did, Young Justice, is actually everything Teen Titans should have been. Young Justice is Teen Titans done right. The only cartoon I think DC ever fucking the Green Lantern animated series from a couple years ago, that was fucking better. The only cartoon I think DC ever did that I could possibly say was worse than the Teen Titans cartoon would be this really short-lived CGI Batman cartoon called Beware the Batman, and it was just fucking atrocious. But that's it. That's the only one I fucking know of that you could possibly say was worse than Teen Titans. I'm sorry, but I mean, you compare it to just Batman the animated series, Superman the animated series, hell, Batman Beyond, or Static Shock, even, or fucking Justice League Unlimited. Those things are just magnitudes superior. I'm sorry, if you're grading DC cartoons on a curve, you have to give Teen Titans not even an F, basically an incomplete. Yeah, Young Justice is the superior Teen Titans show. Let's see. Forney says, never watched Teen Titans, but my dad and sister liked it, and what little I saw of it actively hurt me to watch. Fuck that noise. Yeah, it was bad. Say what you will about Teen Titans, at least unlike Danny Phantom, nobody ever shot up a supermarket over cartoon pussy from it. I don't know. Some of these fucking fanboys are all about fucking Raven, so give it time. Give it time. Somebody says, just search Beware the Batman. What the hell is that? Yeah, exactly. That, my friends, is the only DC animated show worse than Teen Titans. The animated series where Superman was a teen. Are you referring to the Legion of Superheroes cartoon from the mid-2000s? Superman and the Legion of Superheroes? That was better than Teen Titans. I would sooner watch a whole fucking season of that than I'd watch an episode of Teen Titans. Just search Beware the... Yeah, Beware the Batman's fucking weird. I don't know what the hell anyone was thinking on that. Beware the Batman. Yeah, exactly. Beware that shit indeed. I mean, the 2000s Batman, the Batman cartoon was kind of like it got a lot of the villains really fucking wrong. Like it made Mr. Freeze basically like it removed all his tragic backstory and made him just a guy who robbed banks who got, cryogenic chemicals spilled on him or some shit. Who the hell knows where he got the suit? But Joker was this weird like juggalo or something. Like he looked like an insane clown posse guy. And he had like a straitjacket on. But yeah, that was bad. That was bad. Blanca Joker. Yeah, that's kind of how he looked like. And don't get me wrong, I don't think it was a really bad cartoon. It just they really butt fuck some of the villains. But again, superior to Teen Titans. Thoughts on the futuristic Batman Beyond animated show and the Mask of the Phantasm? Here's the thing. Batman Beyond, when it first came out, it kind of irritated me because they weren't really making regular Batman all of a sudden. They were just making Batman Beyond. And I didn't think it was a very good replacement. And it's undeniable that it really, I'm going to be generous and say, borrows heavily from the aesthetic of the Marvel 2099 comics to come a little bit before it. I really, really felt like Batman Beyond was the Batman answer to Spider-Man 2099. That said, though, I respect the hell out of it. It's not every day you get something that really adds to the mythos of a franchise that with comic books that doesn't come from the comic books that the other medias add, especially as much as Batman Beyond added. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, Batman the Animated Series gave us Harley Quinn. The old Superman radio shows gave us Kryptonite. The Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends gave us Firestar. It's not like, that was completely unheard of, but still, it was a pretty bold project. I like it a lot better as I've watched it in hindsight. At the time, I was a little annoyed by it, but even then, I didn't think it was bad. I still watched it. Mask of the Phantasm is just incredible. That I can't believe how good that is to this day. There's a scene in there, and it's just so quintessential Joker, where he's fighting, I can't remember her name, but the girl that was the Phantasm character. He's fighting her in this, like, it's at the World's Fair or something. It's just like the kitchen of the future thing and all. And he reaches onto the counter, and like there's like a big butcher knife there, and there's a big old ham, and he grabs the ham and hits her with it. And I think he actually puts his hand over the knife first and grabs the hand. And like I remember watching that with a buddy, and a buddy's like, why do you grab the ham? And it's like, because he's a fucking Joker. He just probably in that moment thought it'd be funnier to hit her in the face with a ham. He's a Joker. He barely cares if he lives or dies. He'd rather slap somebody in the face with a giant ham than win a fight. Anti-Dem says, true story, Firestar caused my first boner when I was 10 or 11. How about that? I kind of preferred her in her 90s outfit in the comics, where she had that really short jean jacket over her outfit. That was kind of cool. Let's see. So he says, what's wrong with Danny Phantom? I always enjoyed it and never felt the need to shoot up my local supermarket. Well, one guy did. I've seen a little bit of Danny Phantom back in the day. I can't say I ever got into it, but I thought the premise was kind of interesting. Reasonably clever and original for a kid show. Let's see. I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this up then. I got the two big topics I want to talk about out of the way. But all right, so if you enjoy the show, folks, I want to thank you all for listening. First of all, there's the tip jar down below. Tips of any size are greatly appreciated. That helps me keep doing what I'm doing. And as I've said before, support the alternative media you enjoy. If that's me, I certainly appreciate it. If that's somebody else that, Cantwell or that guy T or, the buttstuff.jizz guys, whatever, by all means, it's very good to support the alternative media you enjoy. I got 32 people listening right now. If every one of you sent me $5, that'd be one hell of a bonus right there. So, yeah. Check out tripping over my words here. Check out the tip jar down below. Tips of any size, greatly appreciate it. You can like, comment, subscribe. That helps this channel grow. And there's been plenty of streams here lately, so do check them out. I am planning to have a Saturday show. I don't have personal plans going on Saturday. I got stuff going on Thursday, but I don't have anything going on Saturday. So I'll try not to let it interfere with the Saturday show as much as possible. Anti-Dem just said in the chat, true story, SpongeBob caused my most recent boner. I am ashamed. All right, on that note, I'm going to go ahead and leave this. Go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe. Check out the VidMe channel. New vids coming shortly. And always remember, Teen Titans Go was DC's second to worst animated series ever. Right behind Beware the Batman. And you can take that to the bank. That's all I got for tonight, folks. Bechtloff out.